Sam.
Who the hell are you?
I'm the parking attendant, and you bothering my customers.
Hey guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. I do have to apologize today because I'm going to be talking about a movie that's not a Hong Kong movie. I've done this a couple times before. I know it's not everyone's favorite. The movie is Nowhere to Run. It's Van Damme. If you feel like subscribing, if you're new here and you're not subscribed, please do. That would be a huge help. You give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, let us know what you think about the video, the content, all of that fun stuff. So this movie was released in 1993. And obviously it stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it also stars Rosanna Arquette, who's in a ton of movies, Pulp Fiction, which came out just a year after this. There's a lot of really talented people involved in this film. Ted Levine is in this movie, who plays Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. And I believe he's also in Monk, right? He plays Monk's boss. And I wrote down his name. I'm going to forget it. The villain from Lethal Weapon 2 is what I know him as. Because if you don't know, I love the Lethal Weapon movies. One of my favorite movie series of all time. Joss Ackland, I think he's an English actor, but he plays a villain in Lethal Weapon 2. And he's in this film too. And then Joe... This has two writers. So one person came up with the story, which is Richard Marquand. If that name sounds familiar to you, it's maybe because he directed a movie called Return of the Jedi, which maybe you've heard of before. So he came up with the story, and then the script was written by a person whose name I see in writing all the time, but I'm going to try to really pronounce it here, Joe Esterhaus, who wrote Basic Instinct, which was a huge spec script sale. He was like a really hot writer in the late 80s, early 90s. He wrote Showgirls, which he got paid tons of money for. Apparently the story is he wrote down the basic plot for Showgirls on a napkin, and it sold for like $1.5 million or something like that. But this is a numbered edition from 88 Films, as you can see here. So I got number 408 out of 3,000, which comes with the slipcase, which is reflective and foil here. And it opens up, and you see there's Van Damme. And if you pop this out, you can see a little still from the film. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to briefly review the Blu-ray for you, and then I'm going to give you my impressions of the film, and then I will be out of your hair. The thing that, honestly, this movie reminded me of quite a bit, which is an other film that's very much of this same kind of world and style of filmmaking, is Fire Down Below, the Steven Seagal movie, which is actually one of the better Seagal movies and one of my favorite Seagal movies. It came out in 1997, so this came out 4 years beforehand. And in that movie, Seagal plays like a government agent who goes undercover to this small town where this mining company is like threatening to undermine these people's livelihoods and their house, like destroy their homes and stuff like that. And Seagal does what Seagal always does. So the twist here, and again, I should point out the fact that this movie, as I already pointed out, but it's worth noting that it came out 4 years beforehand. So I don't think that, this movie did it first, and then Fire Down Below kind of took a similar premise, but it's a premise that's been done before, right? We've all seen movies like this. And what it really comes down to is how well done the movie is, basically. Van Damme he's a convict. He's an escaped convict. He gets busted out of this prison transport bus, and the friend who busts him out, tiny spoiler here, this is the first scene, he gets killed in the prison breakout. So Van Damme goes on the lam. He's got to get rid of his car, and he's kind of like way out in the middle of nowhere. And he wanders upon this farmhouse where Rosanna Arquette is living with her two kids. One of them is played by one of the Culkins, Kieran Culkin, maybe. This company who's nearby, who wants to like revitalize the whole area and turn it into like a kind of almost like a development kind of thing, like malls and stuff like that. They really need her farm because it's right in the middle of everything and she won't sell. So they're threatening her and stuff like that. And Van Damme befriends her kids first and then befriends her and then does what Van Damme does. But it's a very slow burn movie. It's very much a drama more than it is an action film. It's kind of like a thriller / drama, and it is a very 90s movie. It has like this big presentational like telephoto lens shots from like shot from far away with compressed distance in the opening, and like very 90s rhythms and editing and music and stuff like that. And it almost reminds me of like a kind of like a B version of a movie that like someone like Travolta would have done, or Bruce Willis, where you have this conflicted kind of sort of romantic, sort of threatening main character, kind of an anti-hero, because he's an escaped convict, but he's doing the right thing and he has like a good heart. He's kind of an enigmatic character. One of the things I found really interesting about this film is that it assumes the audience investment. And this is a very 90s thing, right? Because now we have so many competing sources of entertainment that you have to hook people like immediately. And if you don't, they're going to be like, I'm going to go watch something else. This movie assumes like we've got a movie star, we've got a decent budget, we've got some stunts and stuff. the audience is going to invest in this film, and we're going to parcel out the information slowly as we go along. So you have this very enigmatic character in Van Damme, and you start to learn more things about him as the movie goes along. But there are scenes in the beginning where you're like, is this guy a creep? Like, he goes up to the house, and Rosanna Arquette is like, she takes off all of her clothes, and she's like taking a bath. And I should point out the fact that she's wearing really fancy matching bra and underwear. And I don't think that like a single mom who runs a farm has is really worried about that. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems a little bit like a male fantasy thing done for the audience of the typical Van Damme movie. But he's like just staring in the window looking at her, and then he goes into the house, and he does eventually leave. But it's like kind of like, is he a creep? And you find out more about him, and like it becomes this kind of sad, kind of tragic thing. But well, not necessarily tragic, but kind of like wrong place, wrong time, and like he wants to do the right thing, like that kind of movie. So let me talk about the Blu-ray. If you're here just for the Blu-ray, and then I'll give you a couple final thoughts on the film, and I'll be out of your hair. The movie looks great, and like I said, I've been watching these movies now on a 59-inch, like a big-ass TV. It looked really good. Colors looked fine. Like, everything looked fine. Nothing looked grainy or upscaled or anything like that. It seems like true HD presentation of the film. There's one bonus feature on here, and it's an interview with, and I will tell you the guy's name. He was the second unit director on the film. It's a 10-minute interview, and his name's Peter McDonald. And so that's really, really interesting, because what he says basically is that the film was turned into the studio as, like I said, this basically like a slow burn thriller / drama. The studio was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is a Van Damme movie, like, kick some ass, like, what? And they were like, you gotta add action scenes. We're gonna put this movie out like this. And the director's like, no, I'm not doing that. So Robert Harmon is the director, if I didn't say. He directed like Hitcher with Rutger Hauer, and a movie called They, or he, like, one of those kind of like, let me see if I wrote it down. Yeah, They. So if you're familiar with that, if you've seen that film around. And he's like a very visual filmmaker, and like kind of like B movies and like low budget kind of stuff. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. That's not the movie I wanted to make. That's not the movie I made. And so the second unit director actually talks about how he went to Robert Harmon and was like, they're going to put this movie out no matter what. It's their movie. They put a lot of money into it. It's a Van Damme movie. You're not going to win this argument. Like, if you're not going to shoot these scenes, they're going to make them without you, and you might not like the result. And the director is basically just like, I'm not going to do it. So the second unit director was in charge of shooting those scenes. It's the motorcycle scene, if you're familiar with that. It's actually a really funny quote where he's like, it was really fun. Like, we went out, Van Damme was there, we had a stunt driver, a couple other stunt people. We shot this motorcycle chase scene, and he was like, but I have to say, he's no Steve McQueen on a motorbike. So that was pretty funny. But the action scenes are different from the rest of the movie. They don't have the same sense of like building the scenes slowly with the slow burn. They're very like kind of gung-ho 90s action scenes, and knowing that it's a different director and hearing the story behind the scenes was really interesting. That's a really cool bonus feature to have. So back to my thoughts on the movie. Like, this is definitely a B movie. And if I were to give it a rating out of 5 stars, maybe like a 3. Like, I enjoyed it. It's definitely a fun watch. There's nothing wrong with it. If you like Van Damme, if you like thrillers, action films, movies like Fire Down Below, I think you'll really enjoy watching this movie. But my screenwriter brain started working while I was watching this, and I started thinking about, like, well, so he's a criminal on the lam. Why is he just staying around this town and this house? Like, wouldn't his instinct to be just to get out, like to get as far away as he can, to try to go to Canada or Mexico or something like that? Like, wouldn't he just want to keep moving? Like, why is he staying here? Unless maybe he's like infatuated with this woman, but then he goes back to the thing, he's a creep, why should we like him? And there's like a couple other questions like that, throughout the film. In grad school, I had a professor who called them like a screenwriting professor who called them refrigerator questions, because you can get away with the movie during the movie, but then after the movie, the audience is kind of like, wait a minute. Like the idea being they're at their fridge at like midnight looking for a snack, thinking about the movie, and they're like, wait, that doesn't quite make sense. I'm just looking up to see if there's anything else. The scenery is really beautiful, the place where the farm is, and like the action scenes are actually pretty exciting. Like there's a scene where like there's a big fire, and Van Damme has to like figure out how to put out the fire, and he's like driving a tractor, and these people are like attacking him, and like farm equipment and stuff. It's on a farm. Oh, here's one of the other questions I had, right? So this woman is like, it's never quite established why this woman won't sell her house, because it's a big house and it's on a big property, and she's got a lot of animals because it's a farm. So they have like cows and they have horses, and like it's got to be worth some amount of money. And she doesn't, her husband has passed away, right? And we see kind of like the backstory of that. We never see extended family. You never see grandparents of the kids, or like her parents, the deceased husband's parents, like cousins, siblings. So, like, is she from this town? We don't really know. How did she end up there? Why won't she sell the property? Maybe I missed it. Maybe there's a throwaway line about, like, oh, my husband built the house. We can't throw it. He's passed away or something like that. and we don't see a lot of the town. We see like one or two scenes of other people. Fire Down Below, actually, one of the things I think that movie does really well is it shows you the town and the world in which the film takes place, so you get a better sense of the scope of it and the emotional investment and stuff like that, right? And I feel like this movie could have done a little bit more of like a couple lines of like, why won't we sell the house? Why is Van Damme sticking around? Why isn't he continuing to run? Like, why are we so poor when we have like all these horses and cows that we could be selling milk, or we could kill them and sell the meat, or we could just sell the animals to another farm? Like, they've got to be worth something, right? Cows don't cost like $4. Like, they had to come from somewhere. Anyway, but like I said, this is like my screenwriter brain working overtime trying to analyze this film in case anybody's interested. But it is a really fun movie, and I did really enjoy watching it. And actually, Mike, who is my partner in this channel, who you've heard me talk about a lot before, he really likes this movie. And before I watch it, he's like, "Oh, that's a really good one. It's like kind of a more serious, like slow burn, like thriller type movie. It does have like some really fun fight scenes, and it's like the typical like." The build up, right? There's a couple of the fight scenes that you can tell were shot by the original director, not the stuff that was added later. And it's pretty cool because it's like, you know, you see like the goons coming in and you see Van Damme like sizing them up and you're getting like excited for the ass whooping. So it's a fun movie. The movie is Nowhere to Run, and it's Jean-Claude Van Damme, like I said, written by the writer of Basic Instinct, from the director of The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer, Rosanna Arquette, Ted Levine, and the villain is great. Like I said, he's played by the villain from Lethal Weapon 2. So if you've seen that, you know, like the South African guy, you know he's like an incredible villain. So my name is Will. This is Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. The reason I did this video also, if you're new here, you want an explainer, 88 Films is the label that put this out. It's a Region B release, and you know I talk a lot about 88 Films on this channel. I do love their releases, and I review like their Jackie Chan stuff and things like that. So I got my hands on this, and I was like, I should throw this up on the channel. People like Van Damme, they like 88 Films. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.